Oliver?
So the very latest is that the French President Emmanuel Macron has now spoken at the site of the Notre Dame. He had been visiting this area of the Notre Dame earlier on, and just before that we'd seen absolute carnage coming from inside of the building. This Gothic cathedral, which was built in the 1200s, catching flame about 5.5 hours ago, I'd say now. What happened was a truly shocking sight for the thousands of people who had lined up the sides of the River Thames, the River Seine even. They were looking on in bewilderment. They couldn't really believe what they were seeing. And when I was speaking to a lot of the people who were down there, it was a very somber atmosphere. And then a little while later, maybe an hour or two after the flames broke out, the central spire of the church collapsing into the nave of the building, this big cavernous hall, which is where the Notre Dame, where the church services take place, where there are various ceremonies that take place throughout the year. Now, throughout the evening, the flames have been pretty bad. The firefighters have been trying to damp down as much as possible to save parts of the buildings that they could. Now, we know that they have been able to save the bell towers, the two bell towers which sit either side of the main church hall area. And then, of course, as I was saying just a little while ago, French President Emmanuel Macron visiting the scene with a number of his ministers, the French Prime Minister as well. And he really was there as a leading figure, I would say, trying to steady the people of France in what is a very shocking time for them. And he had this message of hope for what he wants to see happen to the building in the very near future.
Alors je vous le dis très solennellement ce soir.
I say this very solemnly to you tonight. We will rebuild this cathedral all together. It is undoubtedly part of the French destiny and a project we will have for the coming years. But I am committed to it. Starting tomorrow, a national subscription will be launched, and well beyond our borders we will appeal to the greatest talents, and there are many who will come to contribute and rebuild. We will rebuild Notre Dame because that's what the French expect, and because it is what our history deserves, because it's our deep destiny.
Well, Oliver, around the world, people, of course, transfixed looking at their TVs. I can't imagine what it's like to see that in real life. I know it's early, but what are officials saying about any cause of this?
Well, quite importantly, officials here are saying that they don't believe that this is an act of arson. They say that they believe this is an accident. What we do know is that there were some major renovations taking place on the roof and at the back of the Notre Dame. Now, only a week and a half ago, I was speaking to the president of the Friends of Notre Dame charity, which is in charge of trying to fundraise all of the money needed for these major renovations. And he told me that the roof and some of the support structures, some of the flying buttresses, as they're called, were at risk of collapse because acid rain over the years has actually caused some structural degradation to the Notre Dame. So they'd focused on the roof because this was one of the things that could have potentially fallen in. So we know that there was some reconstruction work which has taken place, but it is unknown whether it has been a workman's tool which had maybe been left on, which caught alight. Maybe it was an electrical failure. We just do not know, but the thing that we do know is that the French prosecutor's office has launched an investigation to try and get to the bottom of exactly what has happened. And then, of course, those now calls that this Gothic monument, this huge cathedral, the heart of French Catholicism, will surely be rebuilt.